In this video, let's take a look at manipulating the mid-shoulder dart. So here on the artboard with the mid-shoulder dart, let's see, let me get my selection arrow. When I select the item, everything is selected, so I know it's grouped, and I can also look up here in the upper left hand corner of my screen and see that it is identified as a group. So I want to go to my object menu, come on down, and ungroup it. Then selecting the front bodice, I'm going to change the fill to a nothing fill. There we go. And now to prepare things for plotting my new line. I'm going to get my direct select tool, select the dart point, move that on up to the intersection. I'm going to need to zoom in here. So that was Z on the keyboard. A for the direct select tool, and there we go. I've got it right where I want it. Zoom out. Z on the keyboard brings me to that tool. Hold down the Alt Option key, and I can click and zoom outward. Now then, my line segment tool right here. I'm going to toggle to deselect the bodice, to toggle to my selection arrow, but keep my line segment tool is active. I'm going to hold down the Command key, click away from everything, and then lift up the Command key. My cursor goes right back to the line segment. So I'm going to start here, and out here I'm eyeballing it for the midpoint. I think that that's going to be just fine. You don't have to be exactly perfect in that. All right. Get your selection tool, deselect the line, but now you're going to click, hold, and drag so that you cross over the edge of the front bodice in order to select that object, and then also make sure in your little window frame there of the selection you get the line segment. Both of those two selected, I'm going to go to my Shape Builder tool, and I can click to make those two shapes. And hover over the line that extends past the shoulder line. Hold down the Alt Option key. See how the icon next to my cursor turns to a minus, and when I hover over that line it is red. Shows that it will be subtracted from the selection there. Now I am done with that. So back to my selection arrow. I did V on the keyboard. V for Valentine is the shortcut. Click away from everything to deselect it. Now I want to rotate this side portion of the bodice, closing this dart and opening the new one. There's also the notch here at the armhole that I want to make sure that will rotate and move with this section of the bodice. So when I do the selection, instead of just selecting that part, I'm going to click, hold, and drag so that my selection includes the armhole notch. Now, so I've got that and this. When I want to rotate that, here's my rotate tool. It's R on the keyboard, which makes it pretty simple. There is the center position it will rotate from, but I want it to rotate from here. Single click right at that point. Now I can click, hold, and drag, closing that dart up. Just trying to get those lined up. Very good. Now V on the keyboard takes me back to my selection tool. I could deselect all that, and I'm going to drag over so that I get both halves of the bodice, but I am not collecting anything else here. Back to my Shape Builder tool, and this time I'm going to click, hold, and drag across that. That was supposed to make one whole piece. It seems that, let's see here, somehow my lines are not quite on top of each other, or they have made that. So sometimes it is a little bit tricky here. So we will go back to selecting the bodice and the armhole. I want to rotate again from here, and I'm going to pull that back and try to get right on that line. There we go. Now then, deselect, select both of those there, Back to my shape builder. Now I've gotten rid of that. Let's see, can I remove that little bit of a line? And then down here I have a little bit of a discrepancy in the lengths of those dart legs. That's kind of typical. It is actually barely a 1/16 of an inch. Remember, each of these rectangles right here on my grid is representing 1/8 of an inch. So that is a very small amount, but I do want to smooth it out. I am going to use the subtract anchor point tool, which is stacked underneath the, delete anchor point tool. And the reason why I would like to delete it this way is it keeps the path connected. If I were, let me just show you the difference here. That removes it, but the path stays continuous and connected. If I were to use my direct select, select that one, and then delete it, it's going to delete the point and the two segments on either side of that point, therefore breaking the path. So I don't want to do it that way. I am going to click away from everything, get my delete anchor point, and then move that. Keeps my path connected. All right, let's finish this up. Here we go. There is that piece. Now I want to direct select the dart point, move it out from the bust point about 5/8 of an inch. There we go. All right, we're getting there. I'm going to move the text over just a little bit right there. And now selecting the outer edge of the bodice, let's put the seam allowance around that. Remember, you go to your object menu, down to path, and in the flyout menu to offset path. It will be 0.5, that's 1/2 inch. We're going to click OK. Now there's a couple other little things we can do here. Let's see, that edge we can turn into the stitch line. And a lot of times we actually want our center front not with a seam on it, but on the fold. So let me show you how we can adjust those. All right, coming up here, we can subtract that anchor point, come on down. All I am doing now, I don't want to subtract this one yet because I do not have an anchor point in line there, but using the plus sign on my keyboard, I can switch this so I add an anchor point, go back to the minus, and there we go. Up at the top, I didn't really need to worry about it because there was that anchor point, but I am actually going to correct this as far as kind of straightening it up. All right, there we go. Actually, I'm going to subtract one of those. There were two of them right there. There we go. I like that better. And one more thing. The grain line needs to look like it goes on the fold. So let's do a plus, add an anchor point there. And then this anchor point, I can just quickly turn that end down here, add an anchor point. Keyboard shortcut A to get my direct select. Turn the arrow so it's touching that edge. We're almost there, we're almost there. All right. Adjust everything. Good, I've got my notch over here, my seam allowance. I have made the center front to look like it is on the fold. Whereas our original one over here, this one would have a seam down center front. Either one is all right. You just have to make sure if you want it on the fold that you do this change to your grain line and you remove your seam allowance. All right, now click, hold, and drag around all the objects. In fact, you don't have to collect all of them. You just have to barely touch or just touch one aspect of it. It's collected. We're going to group all of it together. Command G for grouping. That way, if I wanted to go and move them, I can. All right, there is that. In the next video, I'll show you the side dart, and in the following video, the 2 dart series. Good luck.